What I'd like to talk about today is really an implementation story. So we talk about the Internet of Things and a lot of devices all being connected together. And I come from really more of a sales side or sales and marketing side of the business. And so we're looking at how can we use the Internet of Things to be able to tie in with our customer base. And how can we utilize this to have an influence on our revenues, our sales base, and our efficiency as a sales organization or a marketing organization in delivering chemical solutions to our customers. We'll start off a little bit of background on Ashland. We're a global specialty chemical company, about $8 billion in sales. We're really divided up into 4 different divisions. The most recognizable one is Valvoline. I don't know, anybody show of hands who's heard of Valvoline? Everybody? Okay, yeah. How about Ashland Specialty Ingredients? Okay. All right, so that's another division. We have a performance materials division that works a lot with construction, and then the water treatment division, which I represent. In the water treatment division, we have a state-of-the-art product portfolio of chemistries that we bring out there. We're very innovative in terms of not only the chemistries that we provide, but also the support tools, the sensors and technologies that go along with that. And we have a very large and knowledgeable sales force throughout the team. So we probably have over 1,000 representatives, most of them chemical engineers, out in the field. You look at the water treatment chemicals market, it's a very large market. The segment that we play in is it's industrial water treatment, so it's influent water clarification, effluent or waste treatment clarification. We work a lot with boilers, internal treatment. We work with cooling systems, chillers, and also process applications. So you think about influent, effluent, and everything in between. If it's water-based, we have something to do with it. A lot of suppliers competing in the market. It's going through a lot of consolidation and has over the last 10 years, but there's probably still more to come. Where we operate in this space is really in this innovation and service area. So we are a high service organization. So if we operate in the innovation and service area, what we want to do is to be able to differentiate ourselves within that. And so you look at how we operate or what our customers look for, they really look to their supplier or us for expertise in the application of the chemistries and the monitoring of the results that are coming out of that. So it's a very customer intimate business. And along with customer intimacy and that large sales organization we have comes a lot of sales and service cost. When you take a look at that in the market trends, we're seeing a lot of our customers cutting back on engineering staff, production staff, and they're pushing a lot of the monitoring responsibility over to us. At the same time, they're trying to drive commoditization, which means that we are losing margin at the same time as an industry. And so what you see is customers are expecting us to do more with less. Anybody ever heard that one? Okay. So enter the role of automation and monitoring opportunities. There's a lot of different things we can do here to be able to help out this situation. We can differentiate with a lot of the proprietary sensors and the monitoring tools I talked about before. That's going to enable us to be able to gain share and to be able to close business. We want to be able to reduce operator time and some of the oversight requirements that goes on our salespeople and on our customers. That's going to save some cost and allow us to play in that margin game. And we're going to provide some continuous versus snapshot type monitoring and allow consistency and efficiency in product performance. And that's going to go after just better results overall. So we had a goal, and our goal was to create this initiative that is a marketable and global data communication and control platform that we call the OnGuard System. And we're going to integrate monitoring, control, and intelligence. We're going to have near-time information, access, and response. And we're going to convert customer data into visibility, performance, value, and peace of mind. Sounds great. Bunch of big words, right? So what does it mean? How are we going to do this? If you take a look at the last slide here, converting data into customer visibility of performance. Performance is really KPIs or KOIs. And that's what we're trying to measure. We want to get after the performance of our products and what do they mean to that particular customer. What they mean to that customer is value. And the value is going to be something that we can monetize, or it's going to be something that they can relate to and what they're looking for out of their systems. Why are they buying chemistry from us? A KPI might be a corrosion rate. And I can tell you that they've got 2 mils per year of corrosion in a pipe. And you take that to the value side, though, and what the customer is actually valuing is, how long is it going to be before I have to replace that pipe? Do I have 5 years worth of service, or do I have 20 years of service? And so if we can take the calculations and get the data compiled and calculated to where we can generate that back in a value statement, that provides a lot more information back to that customer, and hopefully they'll preferentially buy from us. We had some goals when we get into this project. We wanted to see some acceleration in our year-over-year revenue. So we want to see some sales increases as a result of bringing on automation and remote monitoring. We also felt that there were some efficiency improvements. We had a target of 5% sales efficiency. So remember that. We may come back to it later. The components that we had in this system is, again, these proprietary monitoring sensors and devices. I've got up here measuring actual performance of chemical programs. A lot of chemistries out there we actually measure by inference. So I can say I'm measuring an ORP, and the ORP, or oxidation reduction potential, tells me what my chlorine level is. My chlorine level, if it's high enough, tells me I shouldn't have any microbiological activity. If I don't have any microbiological activity, I shouldn't have any fouling on my heat exchanger. So we're really measuring by inference. And what we wanted to do then is to take that stepwise inference out and say, let's actually measure the fouling that's going on. So that's some of the things we've done from the sensing technology standpoint. If we have the performance, then we can implement performance-based control, and we are a leader in the algorithms and technologies that are required to be able to implement that. So we can close the loop, and that leads to the second aspect, which is the controllers. And then the third piece is the remote performance and device monitoring. So we want visibility to that performance. We want to be able to manage our data. We want to be able to implement some SPC, and we want to communicate back to the customer. So in setting up that third piece, we had a project set up around the OnGuard Online. And like all projects, they're going to be as successful as the pre-work that you put into them. And so we assessed where we stood currently with our functional assessment. Went out and looked at our current capability, which at the time had been a small one controller type online system that was kind of rudimentary and hadn't been updated since the early 2000s. We went out and we gathered input from our users, the ones that were on that system, what they liked, what they didn't like, potential users. We went out and talked to our marketing people, the equipment people. We identified a whole bunch of opportunities that we could use for improving this. From that, we developed a functional specification. We pulled together a global team, so we recognize that the markets in Asia and Europe and Latin America aren't necessarily the same as North America, so we pulled everybody together. We said, here's what we found in our assessment, and let's put together some prioritized lists. And then we had to look at vendor selection. We look at vendor selection, we've got a bunch of data we have to manage. We got the back end that has to be handled. We've got this front end that has to be developed as far as how's the customer interface going to look? What's that going to be? And then we also had to build into this where we can enable that differentiation. So we had to have the ability to be able to calculate those value statements and present them and communicate them back to the customer. So a couple of specifications we came up with, and I'm just going to run through these quickly. We had a scalable platform. So we're starting off with a fairly small customer base that's already online. We want the ability to be able to expand that. We don't want to have to build something immediately huge to be able to accommodate our 10,000 customers when we may only get 1,000 on there. So it has to be scalable and flexible. We wanted to replicate in with our existing CRM tools and our business management tools. Another thing we wanted to do was be fully web-based. We wanted to be completely in the cloud. We had some proprietary software solutions for data logging software that did a lot of SPC work, and they've kind of faded off into the distance as other tools were available, and DCS historians and these types of things. They kind of lost their emphasis. But our ability to be able to put this thing on the web was really a high value and a specification that we really wanted to have without having to go through VPNs and other types of connectivity, so make it easy for people to get to the data. The other thing, if we're going to be looking at these value statements, is we have to have more data to be able to run these calculations, to be able to get that stuff back to the customer, what they're valuing, what they're interested in. So we had to improve our connectivity from a single line of controllers, essentially, that we're communicating with, to all existing types of controllers. We went into tank levels, and we had to communicate with DCS systems. Anything that our customer is utilizing that houses data, we wanted the ability to communicate with. And so there's a lot of different inputs and a lot of different places where this data can be coming in from. With that data coming in, then we had to look at our KPIs. How are we managing our KPIs? We want to present this out, customer-specific dashboards. They're configurable to that customer. They have easy access to the data. Calculation tools. We're going to be looking at value statements and other things we have to be able to calculate on the site. SPC. I probably overdid that one. I'm a Six Sigma guy, so I'm a little bit of a SPC geek. And so that's probably overbuilt, but we got it in there. And then reports. And how's the data going to get back out to that particular customer? And then throw a bone to the marketing guys. We put in some banner ads and articles and connected it up to our e-business site. To switch over to vendor selection, we had a couple of different options here in terms of the ways we could go. And we went out and looked at kind of a gamut of suppliers that were out there. We looked at our own in-house IT group. They were the ones that kind of got us in trouble with the hadn't been updated since early 2000s device business, but they were the lowest cost option as far as a direct cost that would be out of our business unit. But it's really not their core expertise and not something they wanted to be doing. The long-term support model really wasn't there. So we went out, we looked at SCADA and equipment suppliers, and there's a lot of good tools out there. A lot of them were already on the web doing things. What we found here was there was a lot of concentration on their own inputs and their own devices. And so we really would have to jump into bed with one of them, and it would be difficult to get that plethora of connectivity options available to us at that time. And we started looking then at, and it kind of drove us to what we're calling a real-time data as a service provider. And we selected Industrial Evolution to go with. They have an infrastructure in place already. They have a service model and the scalability that we're looking for, and the product could be branded specific for our needs. So it worked really well for us from those standpoints. On the downside, however, the development was going to be longer than we had originally hoped for when we got into the project. So there's a little bit of trade-offs here and there when you're selecting the vendors and the suppliers. We collaborated with our supplier then and went through those typical things you'd do for a project, looking at the functional specifications, revalidating those, documenting communications that were coming in. We had to go through and configure and set up the system that was specifically market branded for us, or privately branded. We brought our initial customers on in a trial phase and then went across the board. And the system architecture looks like this. It's pretty simple, actually. You've got a bunch of data inputs on one side, so we've got our smart devices and proprietary tools at the top there. They can come down through any number of different other ways of getting into the system, as well as going directly into that system. We also built in manual data entry. It was something that was key, because we have a lot of customers that are out there that are still doing stuff on paper log sheets. And we want to convert them over and capture that data as well. So we can get them on the web or on a remote device, then we're in good. On the outside, over here, we have mobile users, communications with the business systems we have, and then the reports, alerts, and data transfers back out. So pretty simple architecture, but there's a lot of moving pieces there. So, problems. Anytime you go into one of these projects, you know you're going to run into some issues. So the first one we ran into was the handoff of our legacy system. When we announced that we were going to a new system, all the developers left. They were the only ones that had the technology and knew what was going on. So we had a little bit of a problem there, but we muddled through. We were able to find enough and be able to get the guys working with the code enough to be able to get that solution figured out. The other thing was, with all these different sources of connectivity, a lot of different data transfer methods out there. A lot more formats than I ever anticipated. In fact, if you look at these acronyms down here, I'm a chemical guy. I think there are more acronyms in the controls business than we have chemical formulas. It's unbelievable. But anyway, I've learned a bunch of these, and that's one of the challenges we had to get past. Another one is global administration. Naming conventions for devices and for inputs and things going from region to region. We had to consider that. Decimal and date formatting was something that came up as an issue. And one that I hadn't really even thought of as an unanticipated issue was some of the devices recognize daylight savings time, some don't. Different parts of the world, daylight savings changes at different times. And that caused us more issues than we originally anticipated. So it's something to look at if you're going to try to implement one of these systems. Another one was just the rapid change in technology. Mobile came on a lot faster than we anticipated and expected. The other one is a lot of our customers' IT departments kind of go along the lines that they only upgrade their systems whenever they're no longer supported by whoever it is. So they're just now going to Windows 7 because XP is no longer supported. And so, you know, there's a lot of that type of thing. Security we've beat up enough this week. I don't need to go into that. Kind of a quick walkthrough of what this looks like. This would be our login page. Go in here, you can see that we've got a privately branded landing page, some information, opportunities for the marketing guys to get good and happy with advertisements. Unit operation dashboard. This is just kind of a generic one that has some in and out of specification indication over on the left-hand side there with the listing of the individual variables or KPIs that we're tracking. Got the ability to trend, easily call up the data. And you know, being the SPC guy, I wanted to see the variable displays have a good bit of SPC capability to them and the ability to track the distributions and how well we're looking at the data sets. And so that's available as well as about the variables. And finally, the ability to communicate out, not only have our customers go to the website and look for the information, but be able to get customized reports sent out to them. So we have those and that built into the system as well. So some of the results we've got, as of the end of last year, customers on board over 200. That's a little misleading because within that 200 customers, we probably have over 300 different facilities and sites globally that we're working with. We're in all regions, so all over the world, data is being called in and worked with this. 1,100 individual users, well over 750 different data sources, and a lot of site visits. You know, if you go and I guess we have Google Analytics on that, and a lot of people coming to visit. From a business results standpoint, we were looking for accelerating our year-over-year new growth, or growth in new business. And what we've seen is that. We've seen the acceleration in growth, and a lot of that growth is tied in with this OnGuard platform. So we've been successful in terms of getting the differentiation in the marketplace we're looking for. The other thing, sales efficiency. Who knows what the number was? You ready? 5%, yeah, I was looking for 5%. Well, 5% doesn't sound like a lot, but on 1,000 sales reps, it's pretty good. We have to only go with anecdotal improvements here because we restructured twice in the course of the time it took this process. And when you go through that, a lot of the CRM tools that you use for tracking sales force efficiency, really, it just kind of goes out the window. And so we're kind of going along with that. We're trying to start over and see what kind of efficiency gains we can try to get down there as a concrete measurement. But we've been successful. Got a couple of real quick case histories in terms of how this is operated. From a business protected standpoint, we have a paperboard manufacturer that has a bacteria requirement for board that goes into making milk cartons. Can't have too many bacteria in the board. So we collaborate with them with really sanitizing the system. We put a lot of our monitoring information online along with system data that they had out of their PI system. And that combination allowed us to be able to send out alerts when we had conditions where there are known causes of contamination. Things like tank levels dropping down and stuff falling off the sides. We had daily summary reports that are generated on the KPIs and sent out to the production staff every morning. We had faster response to any potential excursions and better opportunities for troubleshooting when we did run into some excursions there. Customer, they expressed that they had greater confidence in our ability to control and keep their product within specifications since we went to the online system, which is great news for us, as well as the fact that they can go on any time and be able to look at how we're performing and what's going on with the monitoring that we're doing in their system. And the bottom line with this is we recently had to re-up their contract. We did that without going into a bid situation, which is fairly unusual in the paper industry. The other one, in terms of new business gained, we have a multi-site chemical manufacturer. They were looking at changing over their water treatment suppliers or rebidding their business. And we had the preferred contract at one particular site. We got into the supplier evaluation phase, and we were showing the current and historical performance of corrosion and fouling within this one system that we had. And the other thing we were looking at was water savings from some proprietary chemistries we had. So we had that value statement out there, and it was kind of ticking up, not quite as fast as the national debt, but it was pretty quick in terms of the water savings that were going on. And ultimately, what happened with the other sites didn't have this kind of performance, is they looked at us as the preferred supplier to go across the board with all their plans. And so being able to use the Internet of Things to be able to gather that data and present it back to them in a format that they liked and what meant something to them allowed us to be able to gain business. So, the three highlights, I guess, to leave you with are, we're monitoring performance versus just devices and data. And we're trying to generate the calculations and take that to a performance and a value statement. When you go into the project, the thing that we found, the functional assessment and the specifications up front, doing your homework is really critical in terms of making the project work well. And if you do those two things, you can get the differentiation and the efficiency that you're looking for. So, thank you.